This is no longer about whether you're a progressive, a conservative, a libertarian, no label. You don't have a label. You're politically agnostic. None of it matters. I'm progressive. You might not be if you're new to the channel. I don't care. This is about this country. And frankly, it has escalated under Trump and Trumpism. Say what you want about the Democratic Party. They're not putting out social media posts calling for death wishes for their opponents. Trump did that a few weeks ago. He wrote in all caps, death wish to Mitch McConnell. I can't stand Mitch McConnell, but I want to beat him with ideas, not violently. I want to beat him through activism and organizing, not violence. You have Marjorie Taylor Greene going around standing at Trump rallies, hyperventilating about the killings have begun. Let me repeat what she said. The killings have begun. The Democrats are coming to kill you. This is what a United States Congresswoman said. You have a Republican running for governor of Arizona who literally, repeatedly was asked during an interview, will you accept the results of the election? Will you accept the results of the election? She says, I will accept the results of the election if I win. If I win. Her opponent's campaign office was just broken into and burglarized. She didn't denounce it. So regardless of whether you vote for Democrats, regardless of whether you vote for Republicans, you vote third party, this is not what this is about. I don't tell people how to vote. But we cannot allow this to be normalized. I mean, Nancy Pelosi is about as corrupt as they come. If you don't like me saying that, that's too bad. I mean, her husband has made millions off of Nancy Pelosi's inside information. I think she's corrupt. I think she has been one of the biggest impediments to progress in the United States Congress. With that said, I don't want violence to befall her or her family. I don't think that's a controversial viewpoint. I don't think you should either. And you want to know something? You know, there's this big debate about censorship. And there's a lot of free speech absolutists out there who think there should be zero consequences. You should be able to say whatever the fuck you want, and there should be no consequences for that. And you know what? There's a difference between free speech and there's a difference between free speech without consequence. I think Tucker Carlson should be allowed to spew whatever bullshit he wants on Fox News. If he wants to give wink and nods to election denial, if he wants to give winks and nods, well, more than winks and nods, and cast doubt on the COVID vaccines, which, by the way, have saved, hundreds of millions of lives, not just in the United States. Yeah, they don't do everything we want. They're not preventing infection. They have saved lives. Tucker Carlson and Fox News has casted doubt on them. Frankly, Jimmy Dore has done a lot of damage in casting doubt on COVID vaccines and saving lives. There's a lot of leftists who have made a lot of money on the internet pushing bullshit that they don't have the expertise to talk to you about, that they themselves don't even understand, that they don't even know how to read academic studies, that they push out stories based on headlines where the actual story does not support what they're saying. But they don't care because they view themselves, well, I'm anti-establishment, so that means I'm against the vaccine because big pharma. And what people like Tucker Carlson are doing, and what people like Alex Jones are doing, and what people like Steve Bannon, who has one of the top listened to podcasts in America, are doing, and Tim Pool and Charlie Kirk and Steven Crowder, and go down the fucking list. What they are doing is they realize that there is a staggering amount of anger in America, much of which is justified. We live in the United Corporations of America. Let me repeat. We live in the United Corporations of America. For the last 40 years, your money has been stolen. There has been a grand larceny in this country. Right there. That's our economy for the last 40 years. You see that top line? That's your money being stolen and going to the top 1% because our government has been purchased by corporations and CEOs and lobbyists. And that's us at the bottom. And everyone has been screwed. Progressives, conservatives, libertarians, neoliberals, everyone has been screwed. But what Tucker Carlson and all these right-wingers are able to do is make this disappear. They distract you from this. This is the number one story. Right here, when the Democrats give you their economic plans or the Republicans give you their economic plans, it's all bullshit theater because they don't control the government. The donors control the politicians. And why that's important? Because the right-wing echo chamber machine, and to a lesser extent, the MSNBC echo chamber machine, it's all meant to distract you from the fact that we don't have a government. We don't have a representative government anymore. We have a multi-trillion-dollar corporate conglomerate masquerading as government. Let me repeat, a multi-trillion-dollar corporate conglomerate masquerading as a government. And people are justifiably angry about that. Why? Because their standard of living has gone down over the last 20, 30 years. People who formerly could live off of one middle-class job now have to work multiple jobs. People's benefits have been cut. Before the last 2 years of inflation, there was a 20-year inflation. It's called gentrification. Housing, rental prices in places like Seattle, San Francisco, Chicago, LA, Washington, D.C., New York City, even rural areas, costs are going up for years. And people are economically angry. This isn't my opinion. For those of you who watch Status Coup and who have watched this for years, I don't talk the talk, I walk the walk. I covered at least 50 to 60 campaign events on the road in 2016. Trump events, Trump rallies, Bernie rallies, even Hillary rallies, even Ted Cruz rallies. In 2020, I covered a ton of Trump rallies. I covered Bernie rallies. I've interviewed, at this point, thousands of Americans, progressives, conservatives, libertarians, batshit people. And I can tell you, across the board, left, right, people are economically angry. People are economically desperate. And when you have economic anger, when you have economic desperation, that breeds into societal rot. And when you have economic anger and you have economic desperation and you have that kind of societal rot, there creates a huge vacuum and opportunity for people to become radicalized, for people to become very susceptible to distractions, for people, Matt Walsh too, thank you. And keep those super chats coming. I'll read them in a bit. People become very susceptible to distractions, to blaming others, to believing that the issue isn't that the government is selling you out, including the Republicans, including Trump, but the issue is the trans athlete. The issue is the Mexican immigrant. The issue is the limousine liberal. The issue is the Muslim refugee. The issue is not the banks that wrote the trade deals that closed down your factories and sold your jobs to China and Mexico. The issue isn't the politicians that you're voting for that say they're for you, and then they pass tax cuts, which 85% of those tax cuts go to the wealthy. Those are not the issues. It's the drag queen. It's the drag show. It's people are too woke. That's what's creating. And by the way, but it's not all economic. Some people are doing just fine economically and are just bigoted and racist and susceptible to conspiracy theorists. But in my experience, traveling the country for Status Coup, what really bothers me the most is you have people in this country like Tucker Carlson, the whole Fox News apparatus, all these right-wingers online that are pretending they're populists. They know the things they're saying. They know what they are pushing is connecting with people who are not all there. They know the things they're pushing, like COVID vaccine denialism, like COVID trutherism, like 2020 election was stolen. It wasn't. Like the January 6th, it was a false flag operation. Like the most important thing, your kids are being mutilated. I thought Republicans were family values, but apparently they want to decide for parents how they could choose for their children. You think children are just allowed to go into hospitals without their parents' approval to get gender-affirming care? These people, and by the way, some leftists, including Jimmy Dore, push this stupidity, push lies, and they know that there are people, and a growing number of people, on 4chan, an extremist site, on the Donald, the popular MAGA site, on extremist message boards where Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, on websites like the Daily Stormer, a neo-Nazi site. They know the things they are pushing are being received by unhinged people that believe it hook, line, and sinker, and many of whom will go out and commit violence. Let's go through the list here, because this isn't an isolated incident. Remember, I think it was a year or two ago, you had somebody send in the mail to CNN like a pipe bomb. I'm critical of CNN all day long. I criticize CNN. We cover them very critical. I hope nobody condones sending bombs in the mail to news outlets. After Donald Trump's little compound down south was searched because he jacked, hundreds of documents of classified material for which he then claimed the FBI planted it. And you have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene saying the FBI planted it. There is a long history of the FBI planting evidence, but not on white assholes like Donald Trump, on poor black and brown and indigenous people. There was no evidence that the FBI planted anything in Mar-a-Lago. But Trump's lies, because he lies with every breath, led someone to shoot up an FBI office in Cincinnati. Are we that far gone that because we don't like the FBI and want to abolish the FBI that we're okay with people going to shoot up FBI offices? I'm not. In 50 out of 67 Pennsylvania counties, if we could show that one. In 50 out of 67 Pennsylvania counties, election chiefs have left because of threats, harassment, and intimidation. As Steve Bannon puts it, quote, "That's the way it's going to roll." You have Republicans and the RNC, the Republican National Committee, is putting out bat signals for more people to serve as poll watchers. And we're already seeing in places like Arizona, you have people dressed up in military camouflage, wearing masks, standing around as people drop off their mail-in ballots. You know where this kind of shit happens? Where thugs stand around, where people go to vote? In Mexico, drug cartels do that. You have the Republican Party right now pushing for people to do just that. Whether Democrats will win in the midterms, that's not the point. People will vote for whoever they want to vote for. I'm not here to tell you who to vote for. But this insanity, this violence bred by conspiracies, there was never any evidence whatsoever. Let me repeat, because I was on the road. I was in Pennsylvania on election day. There was never any evidence whatsoever that hundreds of thousands of votes were switched from Biden to Trump. But when you have people, and by the way, I love my father. He watches Fox News 24/7. Frankly, he's not that far gone that he's an election denier. He knows that's not true, but he believes a lot of propaganda shit because he watches Fox News all day long. And sometimes it's like knocking my fucking head against the wall trying to talk to him.